Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Healthylicious podcast. Today, we're going to talk about women. So 8th of March is International Women's Day. So for the women that we have as clients, as friends, or around us, today's episode is super important because we're going to talk about a lot of things that women go through. We're going to talk about hormones, about vitamins, about health. So what's more important than women's health? That's why today, I'm really happy to have with me the perfect person. She's a nutritionist as well, same as me, same as myself. And we're going to discuss together many things related to women. So let me welcome today Zeina. She's a nutritionist and as well a functional medicine nutritionist. And let's start together by answering all your questions. Hi, Zeina.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, same here. We're very happy to have you because today's episode, as I said, is very, very important to me especially. We have lots of women around Healthylicious, taking the meal plan, and lots of women who wants to lose weight. And today we want to discuss many things, many topics, and we put together, you and me, the main topics that women are interested in. But first of all, if you want just to introduce yourself, and then we can start.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm a nutritionist. I studied nutrition as a major in university, and then I did a master's in public health nutrition. And I did practice a little bit in dietetics in a clinical setting, and then I ventured out into other areas, always within the topic of nutrition. And then a couple of years ago, a little bit more than that, I felt that I needed more answers around nutrition. Like what we studied in university wasn't enough. There was more recent research, there was more nuances in the field of health and nutrition and personalized health that I got more interested in. And so I started my studies in functional nutrition. And it was so interesting, so eye-opening. And that's where I've been much more delving into this topic of functional nutrition. How does food and health and habits really impact our health and prevent diseases and really help us with healthier aging and more longevity and being more thriving in life rather than just surviving.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And if, because I follow you on Instagram, I found lots of important things that you discuss, especially for women, things that women has been maybe doing wrong.
Yeah.
For many years. So if you want, we can start with the most important topic, which is intermittent fasting.
Yes.
We want to lose weight. We don't know what to do. We start with intermittent fasting. So what can we talk about intermittent fasting in general, as we know it, and how does it relate to women especially?
Yeah. So I love this topic because I'm sure like me, you get asked about this so many times.
All the time.
That the first solution to weight loss is intermittent fasting. They see their partners, their husbands, their brothers doing intermittent fasting and it works. So women think, okay, I'm going to do it as well. And it's true that it does work in the beginning. But more and more, and I'm sure women who are listening can also relate that as they do this fasting and long hours of fasting more and more, they will notice how it does impact their hormones, their hormonal balance, and that can be seen through their cycle, their skin health, acne, hair fall, muscle mass, and so on. So that's because for women, hormones are the last thing to adapt. So the first things you start seeing weight loss, then you start maybe feeling if you continue doing intermittent fasting for a while, then you start seeing like maybe digestive issues. Then you start getting maybe hair fall or weak nails or feeling weak or not sleeping well. And then finally, it starts impacting your cycle. You're getting strong periods. You're getting heavy periods. You're getting acne on your face. Your digestive issues are even stronger. And then you start maybe seeing no ovulation. if you're trying to get pregnant, you have issues with fertility. So that's because it takes time for your hormones to adapt to your lifestyle and to your habits. So going back to why this happens. So defining intermittent fasting, usually it's, the typical way is 16-8. So you fast for 16 hours and then you eat for within an 8-hour window.
Exactly.
And usually how women, or how it is practiced in general, is that you eat your dinner, maybe it's 9-10 p.m. And then you fast and you skip your breakfast and you have your lunch at 1 or 2 p.m.
Yeah.
And you're only having black coffee or tea and water in that time until you eat your lunch. So that's very long hours of fasting for women.
Okay.
And the reason for that is that it's basically a source of stress on the body for women. In the morning, you're already fasting overnight when you sleep, right? You're fasting. And in the morning, women, there's no like a bank of nutrients for women in their body, right? And when cortisol is naturally high in the morning, that's the natural way that cortisol, which is our stress hormone, functions. It is naturally high in the morning because it is what pushes us to get up in the morning, to wake up, to start our day. And so it should be high.
Okay.
But imagine you are fasting as well. On top of that, fasting is a form of stress. It's a form of stress on the body because your body is saying, I don't have food. Okay, so it's in a stress mode, and cortisol goes even higher. So this puts our body into a stress phase or stage. And chronically, when we do this a lot, and on many days of the week, over weeks and weeks, this is called chronic stress. Your body does not feel safe. When we have increase in cortisol, cortisol needs to be produced from something. It has there's one same master hormone that produces either cortisol or progesterone, which is our fertility hormone, our ovulation hormone. So the more our body is pushed to produce cortisol, it's going to steal away from progesterone. And that's where we start seeing the hormonal imbalances and the impact that it has on our progesterone levels going down, our estrogen being more dominant, having heavier periods, stronger PMS, acne, and then later on issues with our irregular cycles and maybe fertility issues.
This is super interesting.
Yeah.
I've never knew how like this much detail about progesterone and cortisol. But I have a few questions around it. So it's not the same for men because men doesn't have the same.
Men don't have a
relation.
cycle. So we, as humans, we function on a circadian rhythm, so which is our sleep-wake cycle. Both men and women have that. But women as well have something called the infradian rhythm. And this is our hormonal rhythm. So men, their testosterone is like this.
Okay.
It's stable the whole time, year after year, month after month, year after year, until, of course, they age. But in the majority of their life, that's it.
Okay.
But for women, every month, our estrogen goes down, then it goes up. Our progesterone also goes down, then goes up. We have our cycle, and so on. So we also have to listen to our hormones, and we also have to, be aware of the impact that our habits have on our hormonal cycle.
Okay, so here comes to my second question. Does it matter when we are fasting? So for women who likes fasting and they feel that it helps them to lose weight, is it better to do it as a certain part of the period, like maybe before or after, and stop for a certain time, maybe the 10 days during the cycle where?
So great question. So we can fast as women, but we can also have breakfast, and we should also have breakfast, and we can do both of these things.
Okay.
So the recommendation is that women can fast between 12 to 14 hours. So a 12-hour fast is literally, an overnight fast when you are asleep.
Okay.
So let's say you have a dinner at 7, and then you sleep, at 9. That's like the ideal way to kind of live with your circadian rhythm, have an early night sleep, get that deep rest. And then you wake up at 6 or 7 and you can have your breakfast, and that's 12 hours of fasting. if you want to push it a little bit and you know that your body is not stressed, you're not going through a stressful phase, you're nourishing yourself well, you're less stress sensitive, especially in that follicular phase, which is the first 2 weeks after your period. So that time in a woman's cycle is she's less stress, she's more stress resilient, let's say.
Okay.
And she can tolerate a little bit longer fasting.
Okay.
And then you can push your hours up to 14. So again, you have your last meal at 7, and then you can have your breakfast at 9. So you're still benefiting from the intermittent fasting, which does have benefits, especially in terms of giving your gut health a rest, because you want to give your gut time away from food for it to heal and repair. You know, our gut lining is very sensitive. It's one cell thick. So really sometimes we eat a little bit more sugar, a little bit more saturated fat. We're exposed to some toxins, some pesticides, some additives in food, just natural living. So we want to give our body can heal itself. It's very smart. It's very wise. But we need to give it that time to heal and rest and repair. So fasting, one of the benefits is that it helps with gut healing and gut health. And also with our microbes that are living in our gut, they are also circadian. What that means is that they function also with the sun or with our sleep-wake cycle.
Okay.
So if we are eating very late in the night, we're actually disrupting our gut bacteria. We're asking our body to digest food when it actually wants to rest and repair. And we're asking our microbes to also digest food when actually the type of microbes that live at night is more ones that are producing short chain fatty acids and like anti-inflammatory compounds that help to heal the gut.
Okay.
And you're telling them, no, I want you now to digest food. I want you to absorb the food. And so we're messing up with, the natural rhythms of our body.
Okay.
So to answer your question, just to sum it up, women can fast 12 to 14 hours. The earlier you have dinner is better, and that's recommended so that you can fast for that 12 hours and have your breakfast, because we don't want you to be skipping breakfast, which is a really important meal of the day. That's when our body is most insulin sensitive, when our digestive juices, our enzymes, our stomach acid is strongest. So during the day, right? So we want to be eating majority of our calories during the day, including breakfast, and having dinner earlier. So 12 to 14 hour fast, and you can push it up to 14, maybe even 16 hours, only if you're used to it, and only in those 2 weeks roughly of your follicular phase, which is the 2 weeks after, from day 1 to day 14 of your period or your cycle.
Okay, amazing. I think this is a very good summary, and now we understand more about fasting. Let's talk a little bit about exercise, especially in the morning when women likes to go for a walk, for a run, for their, even for their HIIT or cardio exercises, going to the gym. Sometimes they ask, should I be fasting or should I, eat something? And if yes, what should I eat? Does it depend on the activity that I do? So what do you think about that?
Yeah, so I'm sure you will guess my answer. The general answer would be that, yes, I recommend to eat something before you work out, especially if you are planning on doing, like you said, a HIIT workout, a high intensity, or a workout that's going to require some level of energy and endurance, like running, like strength training. If you're going to go out for a walk, if you're going to do a light yoga class or a light Pilates class, you don't necessarily need to eat something. Yeah. But if it's going to be something that requires, effort, then yes, for sure, I would recommend a fed, going with a fed state rather than in a fasted state. And it doesn't need to be, I get this question a lot. I can't eat. I feel nauseous. I feel like the food's gonna, come out if I'm jumping. And so it doesn't need to be a very big meal. It's like a snack. And I would usually recommend around protein and carbs. So these two things to be part of that snack. So it could be like half a banana and a small cup of Greek yogurt, or I don't know, cottage cheese with some blueberries.
Okay.
Or what I like to do is add some collagen in my coffee with blueberries or kiwi or a choice of fruit. So you want quick energy, which is from the carbs. And then you want some protein because you want to alert the body that you're safe, there's food. You don't want your body to be using up the muscles that you have, because when we are fasting, your body doesn't have a reserve. So it's going to be using your muscle for fuel.
Okay.
And as women, we tend to lose muscle by the age of 30. We start losing muscle naturally because it's a process of aging. It's called sarcopenia. So we want to fight that because muscle is our organ of longevity, and it has so many benefits for us women, especially in our perimenopause years, and because we have menopause and our hormonal changes. So we want to preserve our muscle. So all the habits that you do now is in the effort to preserve your muscles and even grow your muscles, right?
Okay.
So you're going to this strength training workout, you're going to put all this effort in lifting weights to build your muscles. And if you're doing it in a fasted state, you're only working against your goals.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe here is a good time to discuss the types also of exercise, because as you all know, now it's changing a little bit actually. But before, women don't like to see number on the scales. So we try to work around it and to explain the importance of it. Like muscle is important. You need it when you grow older. You need it after the age of 30, like even when you're that young. So let's discuss a little bit the types of exercise that you recommend for women. I know there's different phases. We're going to talk later about perimenopause and menopause.
Yes.
But is there any type of exercise you recommend mainly for a certain age group?
So this is something I always say that I wish somebody told me this when I was in my 20s and 30s, that strength training is actually very important for women.
Yeah.
And it is what is going to give you the results in terms of looking good, feeling toned, and having because obviously we're all, want to look good.
Exactly.
And aesthetics is part of the plan.
Yeah.
So muscle building is very important because muscles actually help with your metabolism. They help you burn more calories. The more muscle you have, the more calories you can eat and you will burn. It's also going to help you to look good and toned. And so the main exercise I wish somebody told me to do was focusing more on strength training rather than a lot of cardio, because in the past it was all about cardio and, running and like jumping and fitness, which is very important for your cardiovascular health and fitness levels in general. But strength training would be the number one workout that I would recommend women to do. And you don't need to lift very heavy. Like you said, they're afraid of bulking up or lifting too heavy or hurting themselves. So it's about progressive overload. It's about doing what feels right, but having that resistance, feeling that effort and resistance. So you can do more reps with lighter weight until you can't anymore. And that's the same benefit of building muscle as lifting, very heavy for 1 or 2 reps, And it's about progressively adding on and also about consistency. So it's, that's also very important. You want to choose a workout
activity
that you like to do and that you're going to be consistent with, much more important than doing 1 or 2 months of a program that you hate, but just because I need to strength train, So strength training would be one of my highly recommended forms of exercise for women to do. But again, also things like that help with pelvic floor, which you can incorporate in your strength training program is very important, because we have these set of muscles that are deep core muscles. There are pelvic floor muscles. They help to carry all our organs in place. And as women, because we go through childbearing and that weight of carrying a baby, it puts a lot of strain on our pelvic floor muscles. And over time, they can weaken. And they also naturally lose their strength because of our hormonal changes later in life.
Yes.
So strengthening your pelvic floor is really important. And that can be done through either, certain types of exercises that you can add in to your workout, as well as Pilates, which I think it's a very great exercise for women to do
workout,
for mobility, for posture, and for pelvic floor and deep core muscles.
Yeah, and I think also with Pilates, if you work a little bit on the reformer later when you're a bit advanced, you can work a little bit on the muscle as well, right?
Yes, of course. You can put that resistance and you can add, for sure. Yeah.
And this is what I tell women, like nobody's going to take your weight, but people's going to see how you look, you know, and you need the energy, you need the strength to carry things, to carry your children, to carry bags, you know, to move from place to place. So it's super important to really enjoy doing a little bit of muscle lifting and not be scared about that. And I feel the first thing women can do is just do the body composition. Sometimes women are surprised by the amount of muscles that they have. Sometimes they don't know that they have that much muscles in their body, and this is sometimes genetic, but it helps.
Of course,
and it's something super positive
if they're blessed with that. Exactly. But I like the idea of numbers, because some women they like to see, you know, instead of just the weight as a number, why don't we track your body fat and your muscle mass?
Yeah.
That could be another number that you are striving for rather than the weight, because your weight fluctuates every day.
Always.
You could have water retention. You could be a little bit bloated. Our hormones affect our weight. It depends on what you ate, what time of month it is. So it's not really, you know, a number that if you really need a number, look at your muscle mass and your body fat and aim to have the right balance between those.
Yeah, I believe I always say the same to our clients. And so let's talk a little bit now about the phases that women go through. Like, what is perimenopause? Menopause, we know a little, but we don't know that much about it. You know, we know that each woman will reach menopause at a certain age. But tell us a little bit how we can prepare ourselves. What is the phase before menopause as well?
So since I turned 40, I've become very interested in perimenopause.
Okay.
And I realized how little we know, like you said, how little nobody talks about it enough. It's not, you know, it's not out there. It's not discussed. Women don't discuss it between each other.
Yeah.
So there are three phases, basically. There's pre-menopause.
Okay.
Pre-menopause is the time since you get your period, when you're, 12, 13, 14, up until around age 35. That's your pre-menopause. So basically you're cycling regularly, you're getting your period, you're fertile. And it's what we know, right?
Yeah.
And then usually it starts around 40, but it can start as early as 35, is the phase of perimenopause.
Okay. And how do you know that it's starting?
Exactly. How do you know? You start knowing by symptoms. You cannot test it in a blood test. Like you see your hormones and you say, okay, it's good, because our hormones fluctuate every hour, every day. Yeah. So it's not really, you can't really tell by a blood test, but you can tell by symptoms. You know your body best. You start noticing changes that were not there before. This can be things like a lot of mood swings, anxiety that you didn't have before, maybe some brain fog, so mood changes. Then a little bit maybe of sleep disturbances, so you can't sleep through the night like you used to. You wake up at between 2 and 4 more frequently, or you wake up more frequently during the night. It could be things like irregular cycle, like maybe your period is starting to be shorter, or longer, or heavier, or lighter, or it's not regular as it used to be. Usually they say it starts getting shorter. So instead of like if it's their usual 28 days, it becomes 27 or 26. So it's really good that's why it's really good to like monitor and track your cycle. And then it could be things like more digestive issues, more, like starting to feel more bloated, starting to feel maybe a change in the fat distribution in your body. So you start seeing more fat distributed around your belly. So you haven't changed your diet, you haven't changed your exercise, things are normal, but suddenly you start seeing, why do I have this like belly fat, That's a clear sign. It could be starting to get not hot flushes, but like starting to feel more heat, especially leading up to your period. You start getting even more hot. You start feeling more sleep disturbances in those 2 weeks before your period, or 1 week before your period. So these are the the general symptoms, but there are a lot. And unfortunately, there hasn't been a lot of studies, in general on women, on women's health. Even with the intermittent fasting, all the studies were done on men or on postmenopausal women, and they were talking about all the benefits of intermittent fasting.
Okay.
But none of those were done, for example, on premenopausal women. And the same goes with all types of research. There hasn't been a lot on what happens to women during this phase. So, it's there's a lot to learn, but these are generally the symptoms, and that's why it's important to track so that you can see yourself. Where am I? Where are the changes happening? And you can do things to help yourself.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about that. I like this.
Yeah, but the third phase, I think,
the menopause phase.
So perimenopause is starting 40, maybe 35, and then the average age of menopause is around 51.
Okay.
That's usually in the US. I don't have data for this region. I don't know if there is. It would be good to know. But that's the average age. So we could say between 51 and 55, you enter menopause.
Okay.
So menopause, and to my surprise, when I learned about this, it's only one day. So in my head, menopause was like, okay, it's like the whole phase. It's like, okay, when I'm 50, that's it. I'm in menopause for the rest of. So menopause is only one day.
Okay.
That's the definition of menopause. It's that day where it's been 12 consecutive months that you haven't gotten your period.
Okay.
So if you're tracking and you start noticing that it's the 12th month or 1 year that you have not gotten a period, then that is the day of your menopause.
Okay.
And the day after is postmenopause. Then you are in postmenopause.
Okay.
Phase. And those are the three phases. So it's premenopause, perimenopause, and then postmenopause.
Okay, I feel that the women maybe we're talking to or listening to us are mainly in the second phase.
Yes.
So they are maybe starting to get around 34, 35, maybe starting to reach this phase.
Yes.
Is there anything we can do during that phase to have better health, better hormone levels? Anything special that we should look into? Any blood test we need to, go through, go to our gynecologist, get tested?
So first, I would say, do your body composition.
Okay.
Know your numbers in terms of your body fat and your muscle mass, and where that body fat is distributed, and work on increasing your muscle mass daily, through strength training, through eating enough protein. So that's number one. Number two, if you can, maybe not at 35, but if you're starting to be at 40, or if you have a family history of osteoporosis or osteopenia, and you check your bone density. Usually it's done through a DEXA scan, because it's really important to know where you stand with your bone density, and to make sure that you're taking action to support your bone mass, because again, with perimenopause, with the fluctuation of hormones, we are at more risk of developing osteoporosis as women.
Yeah.
So making sure that you're eating enough calcium, enough vitamin D, vitamin K, magnesium, these are essential for bone health. Also protein, again. So, and also, again, strength training also it helps with bone mass. So it's not only about building muscle, but it also helps with bone mass. So these are two things I would recommend. And then look at your habits in general, because we want to reduce stress as much as possible in our body. Now, stress can take many forms. It's like this big word that we throw around, but it can be
stressed.
Everybody's stressed. What does stress mean? So there is external stressors, emotional stressors, things that we cannot control. I don't know, the news, something bad happening to you, a deadline at work, your business. These are external emotional life stressors that are naturally there.
Yes.
Then there are stressors that we bring onto ourselves, physical stressors that we bring to ourselves through our habits. Things like skipping breakfast.
Yes.
Things like intermittent fasting for long hours. Things like not being out in nature. Not sleeping enough. Over-exercising, doing 2-3 classes in the same day. Not taking any rest days. So these are forms of physical stress that we bring to our self through the habits that we practice.
Yes.
And that's really because all of these will impact our hormonal health, will put us at a negative, like instead of being ready for perimenopause with like the right habits and the right hormones, we're already starting at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
So making sure that, with emotional stressors and life stressors, we should have like a toolbox of ways to de-stress, to cope with the stress of life.
Yeah.
Maybe it's finding your hobby that really helps you to disconnect. It could be painting. It could be, I don't know, a form, walking in nature, hiking. It could be talking to, going out with your girlfriends and having a really nice evening and talking and feeling connected. So ways of breathing, techniques, meditation, prayer, anything that makes you feel that you can take a break from life and kind of reduce your stress levels. And then when it comes to the physical stress, make sure that your habits are right. Nourishing your body is very important.
Yeah.
Under eating is a form of stress, and I see this a lot with women because in the effort to lose weight, skip meals, you eat bless you. You eat very little. You cut carbs.
Yeah, I have a question about that later.
Yeah. So all of and you don't, get your proper vitamins, your proper minerals, and that could be all forms of stress in the body.
Let's talk a little bit about carbs. I sometimes, like my friends, they call me the dietitian who loves carbs because I always talk about the importance of carbs. Yes, we should choose like the healthy carbs. We should cut sugar, cut white sugar, cut processed food. Yes, but we should not cut completely the carbs. I'm always with this idea, and sometimes I hear you talking about how reducing carbs can stress your body, can stress your hormones. Can we talk a little bit more about that?
So actually, I want listeners to remember this. Carbs lower cortisol.
Yes.
Instead of, and we want cortisol to be balanced, and we don't want to have habits that increase our cortisol.
Yes.
And carbs actually help us to lower our cortisol. Carbs are very important because they're the major source of energy for our body. And we want our body to feel safe. We want our body to know that it has nourishment, it has the vitamins, the minerals, the energy it needs to survive. Especially as women, our body is made to reproduce. Whether you want to have a baby or trying to have a baby or not, you still want your body to feel safe. And that's what your body takes from the cues that you give it from the diet and the nourishment that you are giving it. So that's why carbs are really important. Also, not having enough carbs will increase your cortisol, will put you in a hypoglycemic state. Not necessarily all the way, to 50 where you're unconscious.
Yes.
But it will dip your blood sugar really low if you're not eating enough carbs. And when your blood sugar dips, that's where your cortisol spikes.
Yeah.
And that's where you start getting all the things we talked about the impact of cortisol on your digestive system, on, you get more bloating, you get more anxiety, you get sleep disturbances. A lot of women I know, they wake up between 2 and 4 a.m. And one of the main reasons is because they're not eating enough carbs during the day, and they get this hypoglycemic dip in the middle of the night. And for your body, for it to survive, it raises cortisol that you can raise your blood sugar, and that wakes you up.
Yeah.
So one key trick, and I've seen this so many times that it works, is have a little bit of more carbs at dinner, and you actually sleep so much better throughout the night, and your blood sugar is more balanced. So there's all this,
misconception
misconception, and there's a lot of fear about, oh my God, my blood sugar is spiking, because with wearing a CGM and this blood sugar monitor and like monitoring your sugar. I think it's great, but only if you don't have fear of the numbers and understand how your body works. So, but once people start using it a lot and they get obsessed with their blood sugar being in a certain range only, it's normal for your blood sugar to spike after eating a banana.
Yes.
But that's where insulin comes in to lower your blood sugar. It's a normal, up and down. But of course, people who have diabetes, and that's where they need to monitor the blood sugar and insulin resistance. But for majority of people who don't have insulin resistance, there's no need to worry about,
that much about
oh
it.
my God, I spiked my blood sugar and I'm going to gain weight and it's so bad for
Fat
me. And
storage.
I'm inflamed and I'm going to have fat stores.
Yes.
And, you know, so yeah, carbs are really important, especially for women, for your body to feel safe. You need there's a carb threshold that you shouldn't go below. It's very personalized for every woman because it depends on your body. It depends on your history, your blood result numbers, like if you have insulin resistance, other gut issues and so on. Each person has a different carb threshold, but carbs should be part of the diet. And like you said, of course, we're talking about whole food carbs.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about, processed food, simple sugars, refined carbs. We're talking about the main source of carbs is vegetables, by the way.
Yes.
And then we're talking about like sweet potato, like, more carb-rich, nutrient-dense veggies like sweet potatoes or beetroot or carrots, and then whole grains.
Exactly.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, something I also want to discuss with you is the vitamin, mineral, what should we take, what should we not take? I know that also this is a question a lot of women have, and I know that we're not going to be able to give them like a one, answer to all their questions, but at least what are the vitamins or minerals that we should look into if we're taking a supplement?
Yes.
Like what should we look into, especially in this, part of our life?
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, of course, it's very individualized, but this is general information and recommendations. And of course, check with your doctor before taking any supplement. But I would say magnesium would be one supplement that I feel, or one mineral that I feel most people are deficient in. And it has so many roles in the body, so many roles it plays in terms of helping you sleep, in terms of muscle tension and relaxation, with migraines or headaches, just general mineral balance in the body. So magnesium is one.
How about also anxiety?
And anxiety, of course, yes. So magnesium would be one.
Yes.
Another one is vitamin D, vitamin D3. I always say D3 and K2 because they come together, these two vitamins. So vitamin D, it's because we spend most of our time indoors. And you'd be surprised, even though we live in a very sunny country, but vitamin D deficiency is very prevalent in the UAE, as well as many other sunny countries that you would expect, but they have sunshine, so they should have good levels of vitamin D. But it's really because we spend most of the time indoors. If we are outdoors, maybe we're not outdoors at the peak hours of the sun when it's when we can really do the best vitamin D production. And sometimes also we're covered, or we're put sunscreen on our face. So really we're not spending that much time in the sun at the right time of the day. So vitamin D3 and K2, because K2 helps with the absorption of vitamin D and with helping that going into the bones and really forming the right matrix in the bone to strengthen bones. So those two come together, and I would say that's one. The other one, and then omega-3 fatty acids. So again, omega-3 are essential fatty acids. We need them in the diet for our body, for many functions, our brain, our eyes, for mood. They're anti-inflammatory. And we don't get enough of them in the diet unless you are very, very, intentional with choosing your food on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, and making sure that you're adding, fatty fish in your diet, walnuts, chia seeds, flax seeds, but really intentionally doing that every day, then you're probably not going to be getting enough omega-3 in your diet. And that's why it's another one of those supplements that I would recommend. Again, for its anti-inflammatory benefit, especially if you have heart disease in your family or if you have high cholesterol, but also just general anti-inflammatory benefits. And then I would say the fourth, what else?
So we have magnesium, we have vitamin D, we have omega-3. What about like the vitamin B for energy? Lots of people talk about that.
Yeah,
like a B
that's
complex.
yes, a B complex. That I mean, yeah, I would say that one is also really beneficial for women, because again, B complex, it means multiple types of B vitamins.
Yeah.
So there's B6, which is very important for women, especially for anxiety and for mood. There's also B12, B9. So B9 is folate, B12, and B2. So there is a lot of women have this, possibly this genetic misspelling in their genes called the MTHFR. Okay. Around 40 to 50% of women have it. And this means that you cannot absorb properly folate, and you have you don't properly detox in your body. Your detoxification is suboptimal because you cannot absorb properly the B6 and B12, the B9, the B12, and B2. So you need them as a supplement. And again, even if you don't have the MTHFR, like you said, it's really good for energy levels, it's good for mood. And again, the B vitamins are part of so many different detoxification reactions in the body. So it's helpful to have that as well.
One last question about vitamins that I have in mind. And a lot of people talk about benefits of like other things not related to vitamin and minerals. For example, matcha, they take it as a supplement, or ginger, or what is the third one I wanted to say? Like ashwagandha, for example. They take things not related to vitamins and minerals. Is there anything on the top of your mind that is important for us to consider, like, as a woman?
Well, I mean, all of the ones that you mentioned
are antioxidants.
They're antioxidants, anti-inflammatory. They all have a role to play. But again, it's very individualized. So, for example, with ginger, I mean, first, I'm a food first person.
Yes,
so I would say, don't take it as a supplement, but add ginger in your diet daily. It's easy to have ginger tea, to have a shot of ginger in mixed with water, to add it to your salad dressings or to your food. Ginger is really good. It's really anti-inflammatory. Turmeric, also. Matcha, for example, is a really good replacement for coffee. If somebody has a lot of anxiety or feels like they're too wired or they're going through a very stressful phase, coffee can add to that stress.
Exactly.
So matcha is another way of like having that caffeine, but it's a much less impact on the body. It's a slow release. And also matcha has L-theanine, which is like a calming compound. So it helps to balance that effect of caffeine. So there is a role to play.
Yes.
I'm a fan of I don't want to call it biohacking, but like looking for herbs and supplement, like beyond vitamins and minerals.
Yes.
And like herbs and kind of supplements that help you thrive and help you with whatever you are going through. So it's very individualized.
Yes, exactly.
But I think there is a role for them, but not something that, I heard my friend taking ashwagandha, so I'm going to take it.
Of course, we have to read a lot and know. If we're taking any other vitamin, any medication, maybe it's not good for us, we'll have one of the side effects, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Do you have anything else, Zeina, you want to talk about that I haven't asked you? Like for me, I just written down all the questions that I get all the time that are especially related for women. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I just would say that since it's Women's Day, and I would just encourage women to be very curious about their body. Learn about themselves, listen to the cues that your body is giving you. So try to see, why am I bloated? It's common. Many women are bloated, but it's not normal. Why am I bloated, for example? Or why do I feel so tired? Why is my energy so low in the day? What is it that I'm doing? How can I optimize? So listen, maybe keep a journal, track your period, track your numbers, your body fat, your muscle mass, your bone density, your cycle. So really know about yourself and learn to listen to your body so that you can really, because you know yourself better than anyone else.
Yeah.
And then you can search for the answers and work with practitioners, with dietitians, nutritionists that can really help you to feel at your best. Because in the end, your body and your health is the most valuable thing that you can invest in. And if you don't invest in it now, And if not your health, what else are you going to invest in?
Exactly. You really said it like really 100% well. This is why I wanted to talk about women's health today on International Women's Day. It's the most important thing that we have. And I think that some women, they don't take the time to take care of themselves because they have other people to take care of. Whether it's family, whether it's kids, whether it's a husband or anybody they need to take care about. So I think this is very important. It's a very important message. Thank you so much for being with us today. And I really have still lots of questions for you about different topics. Maybe we keep it for another time together on the podcast.
Yes, I look forward to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zeina.